I am currently wearing on my neck one of the most interesting RGB products to have come out in the last several months. So what we're looking at right here is the Phanteks Digital Neon RGB. And this is one of those things that's come out that reminds me of how good Phanteks can be when it makes RGB products. Look at this. This is an LED strip, and you could bend it, you can twist it, you could do all sorts of things with it, and it just keeps on shining on. Now I've got this thing connected to the Phanteks RGB controller, which is really bad. I have about 4 of these, and I can't daisy chain them off of it because it apparently can't power all of them. I know they all work though, independently, but either way, this is the latest thing that Phanteks has come out with. Now, I've had issues with the Halos rings. Hopefully those are being ironed out. They've received my package that I sent back to them. Turn that light back on. But I wanted to take a look at these because I think this is pretty neat. Now, they sell these in 3 different ways. So this first set here, this is their combo set. This includes 2 400-meter strips and a lot of other accessories, and I'll get into these accessories here in a moment because they are pretty important. The one that I have here in my hand that I am flailing around, this is the 550-meter variant, and they also have a gargantuan 1-meter strip. So this really gives you some interesting flexibility options when you want to do some unique lighting inside of your case because they can bend. Now, it is worth noting, they're not magnetic. They're not going to stick to your case. The only way you can get them to hold is you get these little tabs that are held on by adhesive. So you get a bunch of these. They come in a number of different ones. So like this one is a straight one. They have a 90-degree one, and they have another one where it holds it in place in a different manner. So there's three different mounting mechanisms. I'll get a shot of all of these so that you can see them. And then they give you a build baggie of adhesive. So you stick this is double-sided tape essentially. And so you stick this in the case where you want to mount this, you stick the mounting tab onto it, and then you just slot this guy in. So you can do some interesting bends with these strips. So I know that a lot of these, the allure of LED strips is to put lighting into places, but this can be unique because you can kind of run it from like the bottom of the motherboard up the side. You can kind of weave it around. This gives you some more flexibility as long as you can mount these tabs where you need them to go. These tabs are very crucial. I'm also thinking that you could just stick this adhesive somewhere and stick this. So if you wanted to use it where it was like hanging down somewhere, shining light down, you could probably just use the adhesive to hold it in place because there's not a tab that I've seen that allows you to do that, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna play around with these in this rebuild and we'll see what I come up with. I got all 3 lengths because I have a lot of ideas. I kind of want to run this longer one or from the bottom of the motherboard up to the side and then around to the top. And then I want to use these guys kind of in tandem, one at the top, one at the bottom, kind of wedged in, so there's light down there. I'm not really entirely sure what I'm going to do with this guy yet. I don't know. I got a lot of lights that are going into this build, and I'm not going to have a whole lot of space to really route this, but I'm sure I could find something. I'm sure we'll figure this out. But I just wanted to take a quick look at it. Now we're going to go ahead and see what the final product looks like in the build. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. These are addressable. Let me get that out there right now. These are addressable, so they're 5-volt. They use the 3-pin header or Phanteks compatible cases, the Phanteks digital starter kit. So if you have any of those things, these will work with that. They will work with the 3-pin header on your compatible motherboard. And I'm pretty sure at this point now, Phanteks lists all the major motherboard brands, ASRock, MSI, Gigabyte, and Asus that do this kind of RGB as compatible. So you can use these with any of those. But I really like the Phanteks control. So if you haven't had a chance, check out the digital starter kit. I'll link that in a card up above. It's a really good product. It comes with a hub. It comes with a remote. You can have the remote run out of your case. You can leave it inside of the case, and it does a good job. If you have a Phanteks case, that also does a really good job of controlling with the digital controller. So the Evolve X, the Enthuse 719, the P400A that just came out. Those all have digital RGB control on them. You can use this in there. Now enjoy the final build footage. there we have it, the Phanteks Neon RGB strips inside of the completed Enthuse 719 build that is housing my gaming PC. And these things work pretty well as I had hoped. Now this bottom one here is not being held down by any of the tabs that they include. It is just kind of wedged in, and that's why it kind of goes kind of down towards the back end of it. I could probably stick a tab on the hard drive cage to kind of keep it leveled off, but ultimately it's not that serious. I know somebody is going to be bothered by that. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to affect your OCD, but ultimately it doesn't really matter that much to me. And this one is connected to the case lighting, so as I cycle through the colors, that one will change with those. So that allows me to kind of set this up so that it kind of works in a really fun way where it goes down and over here. So being able to implement this with Phanteks products is really helpful. However, if you have addressable headers, you can do what I did here in the middle, where there's one that goes from the back and then takes a sharp turn up, and that one is using the tabs. Now, something worth noting on these little these tabs when you have the adhesive on them, get them set where you want them and get them pushed down, and don't have them pop off, because once they start popping off, they don't really stay. In fact, the 90-degree tab that's in the bottom corner that is holding that strip in its place does not stay put because it kept popping off, and I just finally gave up on it because it ultimately isn't making much of a difference, because there are 3 more tabs going up the strip that are holding it down, so it's not really making much of a difference. The other part of it that's running along the bottom underneath the motherboard is just being held down by all the wiring that goes into the bottom of the motherboard. So that's just all wedged in under. You could actually probably see the USB 3.0 header that is connected down at the bottom that is holding it in place. Additionally, there is one more in the back of the build. It is above the SSD mounts. I've got that kind of snaking along the side of the SSD mounts, all above it and then up again. So that just provides a little bit of a glow through that little tempered glass window that they've put on that back panel. And ultimately, they're good. They get pretty bright at their highest point, and they illuminate very well, and they're basically LED strips that you can bend, and that's really a nice thing about them. It allows you to really weave them through your build, so you can do some pretty complex stuff if you have some of the longer ones. Now, I wasn't able to make the really long one work. I initially had it in there, but I didn't like the fact that I couldn't quite get it to stay where I wanted it to. There was just too much bending going along, and it was putting too much stress on those little adhesive tabs, and they were just constantly popping back off. But this 550 millimeter middle size strip actually works out really well. So if you're just trying to get a little illumination along your motherboard or in that vicinity, that one will work really well. The 1 meter is really nice. It's really long, so you'll have to get creative with this, or it would work really well in a really large case like the Corsair 1000D. It would probably work here too, but I didn't do it right. What I mean by that is, you really want to get these things mounted before you finish the build. You want to have your motherboard in, and you want to have a lot of the wiring done, but it's really easiest to do before you finish the build, and you can still get in there and kind of work around the parts of the case. And it really is best in a case where that back wall is completely flat. So in the Enthuse 719, where these side intake fans are, it juts out a little bit. If that wasn't there, I could probably have worked it the longer one a lot better. So it's also dependent on the contours of the case. If it's a completely flat back panel, you can do a lot of cool stuff there, I think. Otherwise, you know, you can use them as a traditional LED strip. You can kind of wedge them in here. I could have probably put one in along the side, along the front if I wanted. Easily could have put one in the top, and those adhesive tabs will, if you use them correctly, will hold everything in place pretty nicely. Overall, it's a pretty solid product from Phanteks. I haven't noticed anything funky about the LEDs as of yet, and the illumination is pretty accurate. As I said, this one is connected to the case. The rest of them are connected to one of the headers on the motherboard so that I can use different colors and effects on those if I so desire. But that is it for this video. That's a look at the Phanteks Neon RGB strips. Again, they come in 3 sizes. One of them as a combo pack, which includes 2 400 meter strips, a 550 meter strip, and a 1 meter strip. All of them come with extension cables that you can use to help route things a little bit better, and they all come with with a variety of plastic tabs and adhesive backing that you can use to help set up the route of the strip throughout the build. If you have any thoughts or questions on these, please let me know in the comments down below, and that will do it. I will see you guys in the next one.